The worst part was not the DNA test. The worst part were the results. And that proved this guy was not crazy. All these years, they made comments on him and he took it as a joke. He laughed over it. He tried his best to forget it. But some thoughts, they sit over here very quietly. And as time passes by, they grow louder and louder. And then we just want to know the answer. He tried the same thing. He tried to know the answer. And after the answer was revealed, there was no turning back. Things took a wrong turn. Things got worse. Let's find out what happened in this story. Every morning would start the same way. A tiny voice calling for mom and dad. Not an alarm clock or a phone alarm waking them up, but a tiny little girl standing at the bedroom door waiting to start her day. And somehow she had this magic of changing your exhausting morning into a beautiful one. The routine never really changed. Breakfast before school, homework after school, and bedtime stories before bed. Honestly, bedtime stories was like Netflix for us. We would not even listen to the whole story. We would just lay our head on our mom's lap, listen to 3 lines, and then get the best sleep of our lives. Those are the memories that really stay with you. Simple, ordinary ones. For 6 years, this family made memories just like that. Normal, simple, and happy memories. At least that's what it looked from outside. Every now and then, someone would make a comment, a joke, something people say without even thinking. The kind of sentence that once they say, they forget about it. She doesn't really look like you, does she? At first, when he heard this, he just laughed. The second time, he ignored it. He just let it go. The third time, he started paying attention to it. That's when the real problem started. At first, he told himself it was ridiculous. People speak all kind of stuff. They make all kind of comment. They don't even think about it. And not every child looks like their parents, right? Sometimes it's genetics and that's normal. At least that's what he told himself and moved on with life. Family gatherings, dinner, breakfast, the same routine began. Everything looked exactly the same. But something had changed. In his heart, something had shifted. A family picture would suddenly catch his attention. A random comment would start to bother him. When people would laugh, he would think that they are laughing on him. And the questions he once let it go, he once just didn't think about, he just ignored, it became impossible to ignore. He hated himself for even thinking about it. I mean, come on, what kind of father questions his own daughter? But no matter how hard it got, it just wouldn't leave his mind. It stayed there. He did what everyone would do in the situation. He went online and started digging the internet like a madman. He went through every article, he went through forums, he read about all kinds of tests, DNA tests, paternity tests. At first, he was curious, but slowly, this curiosity turned into a never-ending obsession. The kind of obsession that follows you everywhere, at work, in the car, keeping you up at 2 in the morning. The kind that makes you stare at old photographs, searching for something that's not even there. And eventually he convinced himself there's only one way to put a stop at this: DNA test. Not to accuse anyone, not to destroy any family, but just peace of mind. Just an answer. So he ordered the kit, took the sample, sent it away and waited. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Then finally an email arrived. He made the courage somehow to open the email and then read it. He read it again and the third time. Because what was mentioned in the email absolutely did not make any sense. According to the DNA test, he was not the biological father. Just like that, his whole world shattered. He couldn't think straight. He started sweating profusely, his heartbeat increased. Because if he wasn't the father, there was only one explanation. That's what he thought. The conversations that followed is exactly what you are thinking right now. Anger, confusion, thousands of emotions flowing through his mind. He was just a mess. He was into tears. He confronted his wife. His wife wasn't actually defending anything. She was acting like she's not done anything wrong. She wasn't changing her story. She wasn't making any kind of excuses because she was just as confused as he was. Then eventually she said something neither of them expected. Test me too. At first, the idea sounded like, what the hell is going on? I mean, she's the mother. She carried the baby in her body for 9 months. She gave birth to her daughter. So why test the mother? But when your own life stops making sense, you don't care about anything else. You just want to chase the answer. That's it. So they did another DNA test. They waited. After a few days, the results arrived. And according to the DNA test, she was not the mother, not the father, not the mother. None of them were biologically related to their daughter, whom they raised for 6 years. If he wasn't the father, that was shocking. If she wasn't the mother, that's impossible. Every question led to another question. The theory just was not making any sense until one night the husband was scrolling YouTube and he was watching this video of a YouTuber he followed. The video was interesting because it had a family and they also had done a DNA test and the test did not make any sense. The husband thought it's just a normal video, so he ignored it and he continued watching. As he was watching, one sentence stopped him cold. That one sentence just caught him in that moment. Baby switched in the hospital. Suddenly everything went quiet. Because for the first time since this whole nightmare, something actually fit. What if nobody cheated? What if the mistake happened before they even left the hospital? They started investigating this further. They called the hospital. They retrieved all the records. They started checking everything. Phone calls, records, questions, waiting, and then they finally got their answer. The DNA test weren't wrong. The little girl they had raised for 6 years wasn't their biological daughter. Somewhere in the hospital, 2 babies were switched. Single mistake, few moments, and 2 families would spend their entire life living a lie. The father was not crazy. The mother was not lying. Nobody had betrayed anyone. The truth had been lying in the very beginning, all along. After everything they discovered, one question still remained. Who was her real family? The answer depends on what do you mean by family. Because DNA can tell you who you are related to, but it cannot tell you who stayed for you all night while you were sick. It can't tell you who sat on the edge of your bed while you were having a nightmare. It can't tell you who packed your lunch boxes or who read bedtime stories so much that they know it by heart. But it can tell you who was there for you for 6 years. That little girl called them mom and dad. And for 6 years, they loved her, protected her, and raised her. And not a single DNA test can change that. Maybe that's why this story sticks with people. It stays in their mind and makes its way in their hearts. Because it started with a question about biology and ended with a question about love. What actually makes a family? The people who gave you life or the people who spend their lives giving you love? And honestly, I think you know the answer. Goodbye.